is measured and is computed, etc. Okay. So first of all, what is geometric dimensioning and tolerance? So there is a universal language through symbols to capture and transmit designer's intention. So what the designer wants in the product, how can he express it in the product? So for that, certain symbols have been done. So that has a certain universal language. It's not English or Arabic. This can be common for all languages. And it is useful in all stages of the product development cycle. It is not only the initial design, it is meant to be useful during manufacture and also during inspection. But it is not a creative design tool. It is not something which will improve your design or make the design creative. And it cannot communicate design intent or product functions. So that is not the intention of GDP. It cannot communicate design intent. What is the design expected to do? So how strong it should be? Or product functions. So where should the mating part of is it subjected to fatigue, etc. These things are not conveyed to GDMT. So GDMT is only to describe the geometry of the product. So why GDMT was developed? That is because of the limitations of conventional drawings. So before the development of GDMT, the same information had to be passed or recorded in drawings through various methods. So what are the limitations of conventional drawings? First of all, they cannot specify geometric tolerances. So the variation in geometry. So people had to write in through notes. There was no symbol or no system for identifying geometric tolerances. Then they could not specify datums. So what is a datum? Again, we have to know. So datum is the reference surface on which we measure other dimensions or we locate other surfaces. Where are the datums? So in conventional drawing, there was no system to identify datums. Then conventional drawings resulted in very often unnatural tolerance shapes. So that was not very logical. But we have to do with that. Then the concept of a bonus tolerance was not there in conventional drawing. So what is that we see? Then functional gauging was impossible as per conventional drawings tolerancing without making certain assumptions. Okay, so the drawings by definition did not permit functional gauging. So a drawing without GDMT, how it will look, we'll see later. Now we'll see the details of this. So consider this part drawing. So both sides, the length is specified as 100 plus minus 0.1. So now this object is shown as a square part. So can you make a part exactly square? The two sides should be exactly perpendicular. No, we cannot make any dimension exactly as per drawing. So we always need some tolerance. So how much tolerance? So this the square shape important for the function. Suppose it is a parallelogram, or rhombus, what will happen? Is it okay? Good. How much square? What should be the angle allowed? How much radiation in the angle is allowed? So that is not specified. So people used to write in words, okay, the angle, or they have to give a tolerance on the angle. So a geometric tolerance is necessary to describe the shape of the comet. How much radiation from the ideal shape is permitted? That is one requirement or one problem with conventional tolerance. So now let us consider some more information of the drawing. So we have a hole in the center, and the position of the hole is given as 50 plus minus 0.1 from both the sides. So hole center distances are shown from the left side and from the bottom side. So when locating the workpiece, where should we locate? Should we locate from the left and bottom? So which surface should we locate first? So maybe we can assume that left and bottom surfaces are the locating surfaces, but which is more important? Can we locate from two surfaces simultaneously? No. So there is the 3-2-1 rule. So when you locate object, first we have to locate on 3 points on a plane, then on a line. So first 2 points, and finally on a single point. So which is the more important item? It's not clear. So that is one problem with conventional tolerance. So this is one data surface. Okay, this so is it located first on this and then on this, or vice versa? Can it be located first on this and then on this side? So we need to specify the atom in the drawing, otherwise the manufacturing personnel will choose or they will locate as they like. And then when it comes to inspection, again, during inspection also, some inspectors may locate from this side, some inspectors may locate from this side. So that is a problem with conventional problems. Now, consider the position of the hole. How much variation is possible? So the tolerances are 50 plus minus 0.1 from left side and bottom side. So that means the center of the hole can vary by plus minus 0.1 along x-axis and plus minus 0.1 along y-axis. So what will be the variation along the diagonal? So if you consider the extreme case, maybe plus 0.1 on x-axis, plus 0.1 along y-axis, along the diagonal, how much will be the variation? So it will be square root of 0.1 square plus 0.1 square. So the variation along the diagonal is more than 0.1. Is that permitted? So this is the triangle. So 0.1, okay, plus minus 0.1 on one side, plus minus on one side. So plus minus 0.14 on along the diagonal will result. So did the designer really want this? So he wanted to allow a tolerance of plus minus 0.14 along the diagonal. Or he thought if you say plus minus 0.1 on x and y axis, along the diagonal also will be controlled. Okay, it is not clear. We don't know. So that is the problem with conventional tolerance. If you give tolerance on x-axis and y-axis, the tolerance on diagonal will increase. So if you want to ensure that the tolerance on the diagonal is smaller, then you have to reduce the tolerances on x-axis and y-axis. That means you have lost some tolerance. So these are the problems with conventional tolerance. And then the concept of bonus tolerance. So for example, this hole, the diameter is 20 plus 0.1 plus 0.2. So the tolerance is minimum it should be plus 0.1 and maximum it should be 20.2. So the mating part dimension, what should it be to facilitate assembly? So our requirement is that the mating part should enter the part. That's enough. And there is a tolerance of 50 plus minus 0.1 on the mating part position. So the requirement is that the shaft should enter the hole. Suppose you make the hole 20.2. Then if the position is slightly in the order a little more, so instead of 50 plus minus 0.1, it's slightly more, position is slightly more in error. Still, it may be possible to assemble the shaft. So it is 0.1 plus. So if you move, the shaft is exactly 20.1. So if you want the shaft to enter the hole, and the hole tolerance is 20 plus 0.1 plus 0.2, so the minimum size is 20.1. So the shaft you make it 20.1 minus. Suppose the maximum material condition of the shaft is 20.1, and then if the hole is bigger, we can allow a more or larger variation in the position tolerance of 50 by plus minus 0.1 without affecting the assembly. So how can we give this tolerance? So we would like to utilize this property that we can give additional tolerance without affecting assembly. So that is possible in GD and D through what is called material condition modifiers. That means a certain tolerance is specified at maximum material condition. So such material condition modifiers are possible in GDM. So this is a very big advantage. So it gives additional tolerance and it can prevent rejections during production in many cases. So this is one of the attractions of GDM. So this is a drawing without GDMP. So all the tolerances are given as plus minus. So what is the problem with this drawing? Okay, looking at it, there's no problem. But suppose you manufacture this part, keeping all these tolerances, what are the possibilities that you may get? So if you take the extreme of all the tolerances, you may get a component like this. Okay, verify that all the tolerances are as per drawing, but there will be lot of problem in assembly or strength of the part also may be reduced very much. So the part is fully conforming to the drawing, but it is not good from the strength or function point of view. So what is the reason for that? Because we have given tolerances on size, but that does not define or specify the tolerance on geometry. So that is why geometric tolerances are necessary. So this is how the drawing prepared using GT and GP. So what is the additional data here? So we have various symbols. Okay. So you might have studied a bit in machine drawing, the various symbols. So we'll learn how to inspect these tolerances. So we should know, so first of all, we should know the meaning of all these symbols. And only we can interpret whether this part is as per drawing or not. So before we start the list out the tolerances, GD&T follows at least the ISO system. GD&T ISO follows the principle of independence. So what is the principle of independence? Each specified dimensional or geometrical requirement on a drawing shall be met independently unless a particular relationship is specified. So that means every requirement is independent. So we do not have to connect up two requirements. All the requirements are separately to be satisfied. Okay. So if you want the requirements to be connected, then you have to specify a particular relationship. What is the relationship? Whether they are perpendicular or parallel or whatever, and how much should be specified. Otherwise, there is no relationship. So where no relationship is specified, the geometrical tolerance applies regardless of feature size. And the two requirements are treated as being interrelated. So if you do not specify the relationship, the geometrical tolerance applies regardless of feature size. So the geometrical tolerance does not control the size of the part. The two requirements are treated as being unrelated. The two specifications, they have no connection. They have to be met independently. So this is the principle of dependency. But unfortunately, the US standards, they do not follow this. So that is still under discussion. But already they have made a lot of drawings. So they may have to change the drawings. That is the problem. They are not amazing. So the first standards were developed by the US. They have started implementing on a large scale. So now if they change this, then I have to do proper correction. Okay. Anyway, ISO and all other countries have adopted the ISO system where principle of independency is. So you have to be careful when supplying parts to the United States, whether the company there is following ISO system or not. Otherwise, you can make mistakes. Okay, so if a particular relationship of size and form, or size and orientation, or size and location is required, it shall be specified on the drawing. If you want size and form, that is, say, diameter should be so and so, and the roundness also should be controlled, then both should be specified. Or size and orientation, you want the distance from a hole to a site to be so and so, and orientation. So the axis of the road should be perpendicular to surface or size and location. So distance from one surface to a hole, etc. So if any such thing is required, it should be specified on the drawing. Okay, so the main point is that so it is the responsibility of the designer. So you should imagine what are the ways which the product can deviate from the drawn shape, and for each deviation he has to give a tolerance. So this requires more effort in design. So designer has to be very careful. He has to check if you vary this little more, is there any problem in function? If yes, then he has to include a geometric tolerance. But advantage is that if you follow the principle of independency, then manufacture and inspection is very easy. So you don't have to worry about other things. You have to worry about only dimensions specified in the drawing. Manufacturer has to see that is the dimension specified in the drawing? Yes, then it has to be maintained, no doubt. And inspection also, is the dimension given in the drawing? Yes, then it has to be checked. So whereas the US system, even if it is not specified in the drawing, the inspector may have to check that dimension based on other considerations. That requires more effort in manufacture and inspection. So which is easy? Taking effort in design, taking effort in manufacture and inspection. So at the inspection stage, if you locate a problem, then you may have to go back and remanufacture. So the part will go scrap, and then during the remanufacture, you may find that the tool has to be corrected, then you have to change the tool. So there will be a lot of problems. So which is so consequential. So many that sequence of events from the design to manufacture, all the stages have to be corrected. So it is much better to correct at the design stage. Because one of the reasons why it was was during design it was very difficult to imagine what are all the problems in shape that may happen. But now, computer design and software, so these things can be highlighted by the software itself. There is a possible problem. This dimension is not tolerance. And that can be corrected at the design stage. So that is why ISO and all other countries have gone for the principle of independence. The responsibility is for the designer to ensure that all the dimensions have been specified as control. So an example illustrating the principle of independence. So this is a drawing. So the a plate, the thickness of a plate is given as 30 plus minus 0.1. So the plate actual shape is like this. It's slightly bent. There are some wrinkles on that. But if you check the thickness anywhere, this is 30.1, 30.05, 29.9. So each thickness is within 30 plus minus 0.1. So all the thicknesses are within specification. But if you check this dimension from the top to this side, it's not thickness, but between this edge which contacts this surface and at another position, the dimension is 30.5. So maybe if you try to insert this plate in a slot of 30.1, will it enter? No, because this dimension is there. So that is a problem. So if you want to control this, so according to the ISO, we have to specify the straightness of this plate. So if you simply say linear dimension, it will not control the straightness of this plate according to the ISO system. But in the American system, it is different. So when we follow the principle of independency, so this dimension controls only the local size. So linear dimensional provinces control only actual local size, but not straightness. So this straightness, this bending of the plate is not controlled by specifying a size tolerance. If you want to control this bending, you have to specify a straightness tolerance. So that is the principle of independence. So now we come to basic terms in BD&T. So the first term is a feature. Feature is the general term applied to the physical portion of a part. Okay. So a part can be a surface, pin, a tire, a bolt, a slot, etc. So it is the physical portion of the part. For example, a hole, it is not the axis of the hole, but the surface of the hole. That is the feature. Then an important term, so datum. So this was not defined in the conventional tolerance system. So datum is a theoretically exact geometric reference to which tolerance features are related. So theoretically exact geometric reference. Theoretically exact. So straightness error is not there. It is a straight line, exactly a straight. To which tolerance features are related. So you can specify tolerance between this datum and the part surface being dimensioned. So the datum can be a point, line, or plane. This is as per ISO 5459. Now another term is datum feature. A real feature of a part which is used to establish the location of a datum. So that is defined as datum feature. So the real feature of a part, the real surface of the part, which is used to establish the location of the datum, is called datum feature. So for example, we have a part like this. So this is used to locate this part on a datum plane. So here this is the primary datum. So this surface is the datum, and datum feature is the real feature of the part. So this surface, which is used to establish the location of that. So this surface is used to establish the location of the datum. Then this surface is the primary datum feature. So if it is used to establish the primary datum, this is the primary datum feature. And this is primary datum plane. So datum plane is the theoretically exact feature, whereas primary datum feature is the real feature. And closely connected is simulated datum feature. So we defined datum, simply datum, as the theoretically exact feature. But can we make any surface theoretically exact, practically exact? So specified is specified to be exactly a straight line in the drawing. But can we make an exact straight line? No. So whatever we have made, that is considered to be a simulated datum feature. So Instead of the theoretically exact feature, we simulate the datum feature which is equivalent to the datum feature, which is equal to the datum, and that is called simulated datum feature. So a real surface of adequately precise form contacting the datum feature and used to establish the datum. So this should be of adequately precise, then only it can be used for location. So it is a real surface which contacts the datum feature and is used to establish the datum. So the datum feature contacts the simulated datum feature in practice. So ideally the datum feature should contact the datum, which is the mathematically correct surface, but instead of that we replace it by the simulated datum feature. So datum is replaced by simulated datum feature. So there is a slight confusion involved, we have to be careful. Okay, so datum feature, simulated datum feature. So simulated datum feature is not a simulated data feature, but simulated datum. Okay. So simulated datum is simulated, not. Okay, so you have to be careful about this. Define the term simulated datum. So the theoretically exact surface, that is the datum. Then this is replaced by a simulated datum feature. So which is a real surface is submitted in this form, and over which the datum feature is used for location. So the datum feature is kept on the simulated datum feature to locate the workpiece. So the datum feature is on the workpiece. So this is the datum feature. So datum, simulated datum feature, datum feature. So the three terms, I hope you can distinguish. Okay. Any question? Next is establishing datums. How do we establish a datum? So sometimes the datum feature may happen to be a convex surface, and then it can move even after locating it, even after contacting, because it contacts only at a single point. So there is a guideline. The datum feature shall be arranged in a way such that the maximum distance between it, the simulated datum feature, is the least possible area. The maximum distance between the data feature and the simulated data feature should be the minimum. So we have to adjust the data feature, the workpiece, so that the data feature lies within a certain distance of the simulated data feature. So if this may result in the workpiece not being stable. So if it is a convex workpiece, when you contact, it will contact only at one point. So you can rock towards either side. So then how can you make it stable? So we have to adjust it such that this both sides are equidistant from the datum feature to prevent rocking. And then you can place supports between the edges. Okay, so a datum system. So when you locate a workpiece in three-dimensional space, the surface in which you locate first So that is called the primary datum plane. So any workpiece, you have to first locate on the primary datum plane. So then you push it. So conceptually, we presume that the workpiece is contacting the surface on contacting the primary datum plane on 3 points. Whereas on the secondary datum plane, it is enough if two points are contacted. And the third tertiary datum plane, only 1 point need to be. So that is the 3, 2, 1. So workpiece is first located on primary datum plane, then pushed towards the secondary datum plane, then again pushed towards the tertiary datum. So now the workpiece is in correct position. So first you make it contact the primary datum plane. So 3 points are taken as samples. Then 2 points are made to contact the secondary datum plane. And finally it is pushed till a single point contacts the tertiary datum plane. Okay. So these 3 planes together form what is called a datum system. Okay. So all the 3 planes together form a datum system. Datum precedence. So which datum is important? So why do we need to specify the datum precedence? So the conventional tolerance, there is no datum. Maybe we can write this is the datum, this surface is the datum, etc. But still, can it give the datum precedence? That is, which datum is more important? No. But in GD&T, datum precedence is automatically specified, or it is necessary to be specified. So we are here tolerance, the datum has to be specific. So we will not miss out. So what is the problem if datum precedence is not specific? So that is illustrated by this graph. So the real part, of course, is not perfect. So the mathematically correct is the datum feature is the workpiece, which is not exactly matching with datum. The real part will never exactly match datum. And then it is to be located on the real surface, which also will never match exactly the datum. Okay, so there will always be some difference. So because of the irregularities of the workpiece, suppose I consider this workpiece. So I locate it first on the y-axis, then push it down till it is located on the x-axis. So I will get a certain distance of the hole from this y-axis to this. And now I suppose I push first towards the x-axis, then towards the y-axis. What will happen? So first I push the workpiece towards the x-axis, then towards y-axis. So the position that it takes is different. So can you understand that? Okay. So first you are pushing it towards the x-axis. So it will locate at 2 points on the x-axis. And then, so this is not primary, you can say it's the secondary or tertiary datum, and this is the tertiary datum. So on that, only 1 point is located. Okay, so how do we specify datum precedence? So which datum is important? So we have to tell datum, so we have to give some names for that datum. So that is through the use of datum triangles. So datum triangles are used to identify surfaces as datums. So then The datum triangle is the contacting the workpiece. And then we also have datum letters to denote that datum. So it can be either white triangle or black triangle, both are okay. So this means that this surface is datum A. So datum feature is the real part. Now datum target. So many times the area of the datum is very large. So we want only a small portion for location. To minimize the variation, the difference in location should be very small. So instead of choosing the entire area, we can choose a small portion of the area, like a point, line, or limited area on the workpiece. To be used for contact with the manufacturing and inspection equipment to define the required datums in order to specify the functional requirements. So this is defined as datum target. So it can be a point, line, or limited area on the workpiece. It will be used for contact with the manufacturing equipment and inspection equipment to define the required datums in order to satisfy the functional. So you mark certain area. How? Through symbols like this. So you can mark a point through a simple X. You can mark a line through 2 points, XX, or mark an area through symbols like square or circle. So these are datum targets. So this is the point datum. This is the line datum. This is an area datum. So that means your part should be located on, okay, if it is not specified, that means it should locate on a single point of that surface. Then datum area, you may have to specify how much size is allowed. That is by mentioning the size in this circle. So dia 5 A1. This means this is datum A, point 1, and it is a circle of dia 5 mm. So the workpiece should contact surface at that datum surface. So next is tolerance field. So the tolerance frame consists of a series of boxes. So at least 2 boxes are open. The first box contains the tolerance specification, and the second box contains the amount of tolerance. So the first box contains the type of tolerance. So a rectangular frame divided into compartments containing the symbol. So the symbol of the tolerance. So this is a line, it means straightness. If it is 2 lines, it means parallels. If it means like this, it is pressure. So the first box contains symbol. The second box contains the value of the tolerance, how much variation is allowed. And third will be datum if necessary. So if no datum is necessary, we can use just this. So for geometric processes like parallelism and superposition, they always require datum. Whereas for simply parallelism or position, we don't need. Okay, simply for straightness, you don't need a data. For parallelism and true position, you need a data. So these two require a data, whereas the form tolerances do not require data. Okay. So now next we come to the various geometric tolerances. The geometric tolerances are divided into major three categories. First is single features. Second is okay. So with that, we'll conclude for the day. See the details in the next class. Single features are form tolerances. Related features are orientation, location, and runout tolerances. And once again, form tolerances are 6. Orientation, parallelism perpendicular to angularity. Location can be position, coaxial symmetry, and runout can be circular or total. So all these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 geometric tolerances which are defined as per the ISO standard. Okay, so we understand or learn the meaning of each of these words, how to inspect them, the next class. Okay, with that, shall we conclude? So those who want to leave may leave. So these are the geometric tolerances. So what is the difference between form tolerance, orientation tolerance, and location tolerance is shown in this figure with an example. So with the example of a line. So we have here a line, we have here another line. So this is the datum surface. This surface is the data. So this is the workpiece. So something like a rectangular block. So the form deviation is the straightness of this surface. But here also we can mark straightness. So how straight is this line? That is shown as a form deviation. So we know how we calculate in the autocorrelator. The two lines should enclose the entire surface, and the distance between the two lines, that is the straightness of it. Then orientation deviation is what is the orientation of this surface with respect to the datum. So the datum, if it is like this, the angle with this, how much variation is there? But in GD&T, we don't use angle in degrees or radians. Instead, we use as distances. So if you have orientation as 1 mm, then that means this distance between two lines is 1 mm, and the actual surface should lie between these two lines. So this is the parallelism tolerance zone. Then finally we have location zone. So location is where is this? So what is the size of this object? So this is something like two flat surfaces. So this how far away it is from this. So that is the location. Where is this located with respect to the datum? So this is the location tolerance. So even if it is not parallel, it can be at various heights, isn't it? So that location is specified as a distance in the rectangular box. So that we learn later. So this is the difference between form, orientation, and location tolerances. Okay, so with that we complete the introduction. Now we come to the various geometry.